Hi, this is John Feldt, and this is the weekly water outlook for the southeast U.S. As usual, I'm going to start off looking at the actual rain that occurred last week. The green is a moderate amount of rain. That's generally ½ inch up to 1.5 inches or 2 inches. Blue is lighter than that, about a ½ inch or less. And red is the heaviest rain, about 5 inches or greater. Now, the rain we see here from the Florida northwest coast up into Alabama, that's the remnants of Isaac as it came in there, sort of a streaming band that came in after the system started moving up towards the northeast. But I think if you look at the entire southeast U.S., generally speaking, where you see the areas of blue, I think you're seeing soil moisture deficits. Where you're seeing the areas of green, and that's that inch or so, you're holding your own, maybe making up a little bit. And then to really get some significant improvement, we need the yellows or reds. And you can see that occurred in parts of the Carolinas, particularly North Carolina. And of course, as I mentioned, in Alabama and Northwest Florida, and then parts of Florida here and there over the northern part and also the far southern part. So if we look at the departure from normal or percent of normal last week, purples and blues are above normal, and those correspond to those areas of rainfall that I mentioned that receive the heavier amounts, and that'd be North Carolina, scattered parts of South Carolina, and then Georgia is really a mishmash. Some areas received a little bit above, some areas below, and pretty much I think if you average it out, probably about half and half. Alabama, definitely above normal due to Hurricane Isaac. And down in Florida, much of the state, after some rain, welcome rain in spots due to Hurricane Isaac, last week was quite a bit less rainfall, with the Tampa area, which actually received quite a bit, and Miami the week before, this week quite a bit less. So if we look at stream flow typically corresponds with rainfall, especially short-term trends. Blue is above normal stream flow, and pretty much the only area now that we have over the southeast U.S. with above normal stream flow are those areas that were impacted by Isaac, and that would be central Florida, Northwest Florida, Mississippi, and Alabama. Even though some of that rain did fall in Georgia last week, I mentioned there were some pockets of above normal rainfall, because it's been so dry, everything's being soaked up, stream flow is still well below normal almost all place over Georgia. A couple spots near normal, but for the most part, most of Georgia for a long time now has been running with below normal stream flow. As we get up into North Carolina, again, due to that recent rainfall, we do see some blues. That would mean above normal stream flow. And actually, the North Carolina and parts of Virginia have been running significantly more rainfall for the past 3-4 months than we've seen in Georgia and South Carolina. This is the drought monitor. I put the entire nation on this week's edition. I wanted to show you in Missouri into Illinois and Indiana. That was an area that did get some welcome rain from Isaac, and you can see there's still drought in there, but it's really been sort of tampered down a bit. In this area here, St. Louis towards Kansas City, Springfield, off to the east, they received 3 to 4 inches of rain in spots, and that wasn't enough to make up the foot rainfall deficits, but it certainly helped a little bit from the drought standpoint. Over the southeast U.S., very little change. We have about 65% of the region in some degree of drought, and that was compared to 61% the last time it was updated a couple weeks ago. So that's not really any significant change whatsoever over the southeast U.S. So at least so far as we've gone from August into September, I think it's pretty much a status quo situation as far as the drought goes. Okay, so the big picture looking ahead looks like a pretty quiet week. Now, I have the blue line here as a jet stream pattern for this week. The jet pushes to the north, and with that jet pushing to the north, we have a large area of high pressure over the southeast U.S., and that combination is going to bring drier air and quiet conditions throughout the entire week. It's going to be pretty quiet. Now, eventually, that area of low pressure in the northwest U.S. is going to push off to the east, and I think that's going to be a very significant pattern change that I'm going to talk about later this week or maybe next week. That is going to put a significant area of low pressure over the eastern U.S. Again, it looks fairly quiet with that, so from a precipitation standpoint, I don't really see much change from this below normal pattern, but it looks like it will reinforce cooler and drier conditions and quiet conditions next week as well. But for this week, it looks like a very quiet week, very little rain. I think when we look at it at the end of the week, it's going to be below normal or well below normal rainfall over almost the entire southeast U.S., with perhaps the exception of South Florida. Now, being in the peak of hurricane season, what's really critical is where the steering flow aligns these systems and where it's going to steer them. It's been pretty busy. We have Leslie out there. We have Michael out there, 2 name storms. We have another system that looks like it could develop, 50% probability, and it looks like another one pushing off the African coast. So it's been pretty busy. But like I said, it does, from a water resource perspective, it really, the steering flows are going to either bring them towards us or away from us. And so far this season, there have been a few that have moved into our area, 2 of them in the southeast U.S., Debbie and Isaac. But other than that, most of the region has not received any needed rainfall from tropical activity, nor streams of moisture, tropical moisture over the area. And these are the general steering flows. You can see Leslie and Michael are being caught up in a northerly steering flow. That's going to keep them away from the southeast U.S. and actually the entire U.S. Should not have any impact other than indirect impacts of wave action off the far northeast coast. This southern track here, if something would come in here, this is something we'd have to watch. It could move further south. But right now, it looks to me like most of the southeast U.S., both the Atlantic and the Gulf, are quiet for tropical activity for some time now. So definitely nothing this week. We'll have to keep an eye on next week, but I don't really see much next week as well. Okay, so I've been talking about a quiet week. I've been talking about little rain, and as you might expect, this is a forecast of soil moisture change over the next couple weeks. You can see that not only just over the southeast U.S., but most of the nation, we have more brown than blue, and blue is above normal soil moisture changes, and brown is below normal. And this is saying that generally we're going to have a gradual decrease in upper soil moisture over the next 2-week period over almost everywhere over the southeast U.S. So the takeaway, it looks like a quiet week over the entire region with well below normal rainfall. That was going to result in decreasing amounts of upper soil moisture. And once again, no tropical activity to reach the southeast U.S. or anywhere in the U.S. this coming week. Thank you for listening to the Southeast edition of the Weekly Water Outlook. I will be sending out information later this week on a variety of weather and water information, so feel free to subscribe. If not, I will be updating this again next week. Thank you.